1-800-449-8255. And welcome to all of you. Right here on the angry and spiteful, arrogant Clark the Shark presentation. Here on the Clark the Shark Show, where today I'm going to be dabbling in some Deep Purple. Oh yeah, baby. Get ready. Because when I'm talking about Deep Purple, this incredible band, it gets me pissed off because Rod Evans and Nick Simper, these two gentlemen, these English gents, if you will, they really got the shaft here. But I guess it was all meant to be and all well and good or something. You know how they say, all's well that ends well, right here on the Shark-a-Llama-Ding-Dong, Shark-a-Doodle-Doo show, baby. I don't know, though. I'm very torn by what happened here because me, Clark the Shark, I've been in mini bands. And usually it's me that does the firing. But I'll never forget this one in 1998 when I was 33. I was getting a little older, and I was in a band in the South Bay. And I was making these long, crazy drives up from North San Diego, Oceanside, Vista, Carlsbad. You know the area, you guys. And I would go up to Redondo and Torrance, and I would jam with the band. And then one day they said, Shark, you're coming from too far away. It's over. You're out of here. And it was a little sticky because my brother was in the band, and it was really ugly for many years. But maybe, I just wasn't looking at it with the long view, like we all do right here on the Clark the Shark Show. But I don't know. Oh, well, what can you do, right? That's life. Now, when it happened to Rod Evans, he turned that lemon into real tasty, good lemonade when he hooked up with a couple of guys from Iron Butterfly, and they formed a band called Captain Beyond, which, as you all know, is one of Clark the Shark's favorite bands of all time. 3 incredible albums. One of the 3 albums does not have Rod Evans on it, quite weirdly. It has a guy named Willie DeFern. That's the 3rd album. The one, I think, is from 1977. But the first 2 Captain Beyond albums, that first debut, which is so incredible, and then Sufficiently Breathless, which is pretty good, not as good as the first one. But they're both very interesting. I don't know whatever became of Nick Simper. I'm not sure what bands he was in, or I don't know. But, when they brought in Ian Gillan, who right from day one conflicted with Ritchie Blackmore. Ritchie Blackmore, I think, even says over the past many years he regrets ever getting with Ian Gillan, but I don't, because those Deep Purple albums with Ian Gillan, as we all know, are all amazing, but the band didn't last very long. Only for a few years. I think by 1973 or so, they were done. And, Ian Gillan, he would man up to Ritchie Blackmore. I mean, there is no one on earth who stands up to Ritchie Blackmore. Everyone acknowledges Ritchie Blackmore as a rock and roll guitar god, and you don't dare say anything against him. And yet one man on this planet Earth routinely not only stood up to Ritchie Blackmore, but he would get in his face and threaten him. And that was Ian Gillan. And Ian Gillan's a pretty tough bloke. You don't want to mess with him. And Richie Blackmore found that out. But you can't defeat the big, spectacle, ego, whatever you call it. Richie Blackmore is just a big show with a sparkling screen. He's just this rock and roll Hall of Fame guitar hero. And even Ian Gillan could not knock him down, you guys. And of course, Ian Gillan brought along this incredible bass player, Roger Glover. And the two of them joined Deep Purple for 3 or 4 incredible albums. And the rest, baby, is history. Now, of course, that version of Deep Purple would break up and get together much later in 1984 or 85. I much would have preferred it if Ian Gillan had stayed with Black Sabbath, because as you all know, I love that album. And then there was the fiasco where Rod Evans tried to reform Deep Purple, or, he had a fake version of Deep Purple, which is so stupid because Deep Purple didn't even exist when Rod Evans was doing all that in 1978 or 79. And then, of course, Deep Purple and their management sued Rod Evans and just completely ruined his life, which is stupid because Deep Purple broke up. In that time, 78, 79, 80, they didn't exist. And yet they were suing Rod Evans. Weird, very, very weird, right here on the Clark the Shark Show. And as we all know, with Perfect Strangers, they got back together, and that didn't last because once again, Ian Gillan versus Richie Blackmore. It didn't last. All the other guys in the band are so mellow. John Lord, he's cool. Ian Pace, amazing drummer, one of the greatest drummers in the world. He's a mellow dude, and so is Roger Glover. But Ian Gillan and Richie Blackmore just can't get their ducks in a row and just hit it on all cylinders, people. And sometimes in life that just happens. There's these two guys that are never going to get along. And baby, in Deep Purple, it was those two guys. But I'm not talking about Deep Purple with Ian Gillan right now versus Richie Blackmore. I'm going to talk about a much earlier time, long vanished, when they put out Deep Purple 3. That's right, you guys. There was a third album with Rod Evans and Nick Simper. 1969. June 21, 69. Recorded January, March. Arguably, this is the best Deep Purple album of those three. I don't know. You guys, I like Book of Talisman. I like Shades of Deep Purple. Me, Clark the Shark, I like these three equally. But even I find myself listening to this one maybe the most. I'm not sure, you guys, but I do listen to them all. And I love Rod Evans. And it's just a damn shame. What a disaster, fiasco, epic debacle was his life. Now he's a doctor working at in Los Angeles somewhere. I'm not going to give up where he is, but I think it's at County UCLA in Torrance, where Clark the Shark was born. And they used to call it Harbor General Hospital. You guys, I'm just speculating here. I've heard from people that he's there, and he's Dr. Evans, an old gray-haired man now. And occasionally someone's like, "Hey, bro, you're Rod Evans, aren't you?" And he's like, "No, that's someone else." And they're like, "You look like Rod Evans, Doctor, sir, from Captain Beyond." And he'll be like, "No, man, you mean Deep Purple." And then they'll both have a little laugh, and you know how things go, unspoken or unsaid, or say no more, and then it's over. I think it's like that, you guys. Dr. Evans, I hope he's making good money with the doctor gig. I'm sure he is, because his rock and roll thing was not one, but like 2 or 3 fiascos. I think he tried at one point to get back with Deep Purple. Not the fake Deep Purple. I could be right or wrong here. I'm not sure, but they, told him no, hit the road. We're with Ian Gillan. Dude, it was just bad. He got kicked out of Deep Purple, which was basically like the band he formed with Nick Simper. And then you talk about a victim of a calamity, baby. It's Nick Simper, because as John Lord says, he's like, we weren't looking for a bassist. We already had one in Nick. But Ian Gillan brings this guy in, Roger Glover, who's just incredible. And Ian liked him. And the rest was history, you guys. Nick Simper was an innocent victim here. Maybe not so innocent, I don't know. But he was out of Deep Purple, along with Rod Evans. Believe it or not, you guys. Just like Ripley's. You heard it here on the Clark the Shark fabulous soap opera talk radio show, #1 worldwide, right here on WABC Radio, New York. New year, baby. It is a new year. It's already March, Sharky. Come on. Right here, the Wolfman Jack on crack from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's a Sharkerphone, not a microphone, you guys, because the smooth, silky delivery is fast and technical, and often I stutter too. That's from all the drugs long ago and alcohol, but now I'm sober. So the stuttering thing is getting better, I hope. Anyway, you guys, back to Deep Purple. Now this third album, which is so weird, Chasing Shadows, you guys, what a weird song. I don't really care what the stars say of this, Sometimes I care about stars, all music, all that crap. It gets a pretty long write-up at Wikipedia, you guys. Oh, it does. And me, Clark the Shark, all of 5'6". My eyeballs are 6'4", you guys. All music, 4.5 stars. I kind of agree with that. Pop Matters, they give it like mediocre, like a 6 or 5 out of 10 or something. Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal. I hate genres, you guys. Jazz, blues, heavy metal, punk, new wave, classical. I don't like categories or genres. I like weird music where a guy's playing like polka, like an accordion, you guys. And on this album, it's like Deep Purple are listening to Clark the Shark, because Chasing Shadows, the way it starts off with like this percussion shit, Ian Pace and John Lord. Side 1, Chasing Shadows, is amazing. But Blind, you got to hear that song, John Lord. Awesome. Lalina, the Donovan cover, Donovan leaked or whatever his name was, Donovan. Deep Purple's version is really good, you guys. Buy this album for Lalina or Lalena. It's really good. And of course, Fault Line, the instrumental, Richie Blackmore, Nick Simper, Lord, and Pace. I love Fault Line, you guys. I love side 1. It's really interesting. And I almost hear like the beginnings of Captain Beyond on side 1 of this album, you guys. I'm not kidding. The Painter, Blackmore, Evans, Lord, Simper, Pace. Really good. The Painter might be the best song on side 1. I think it is. I could be right or wrong, me, Clark the Shark, but this album is so, it's not really psychedelic. It's rocking, you guys. It's rock and roll, not heavy metal. It's good rock. Why didn't Rosemary, Blackmore, Evans, Lord, Simper, Pace? It's a democracy here, you guys. I can't believe this band would kick out Simper and Evans. These two guys are so involved. Bird Has Flown. I get a Beatles vibe. Lord, Evans, Blackmore, This bird has flown. Do, 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 do. It's nothing like that, you guys. Side 2 is incredible here. The song April, which is like the Deep Purple's version of, like, I don't know, it almost sounds like the beginning of progressive mixed with Skinnerd or something, but it's got all these elements of rock and roll, hard rock, maybe psychedelia, not really, you guys. What an incredible long 12-minute and 10-second song, April, Blackmore and Lord. Of course, the keyboards all over this album are amazing. You got to buy this atmospheric, melodic, very deep and involved, psychedelic album. You know, all these guys are geniuses. Of course, Rod Evans, lead vocalist, who got better with Captain Beyond after this, you guys. Richie Blackmore, genius. He's hard to get along with. You can't even be in the same room with Richie Blackmore. He doesn't start talking about himself, but you look at him, he's just sitting there, you know, on a couch staring at you. And you know in his brain he's thinking about himself and all his guitar scales and solos and tangents that he's going to be playing. And he's just like, you know, you're not as good as me. You'll never be, you know. And you're just like, yeah, I know, Richie, you're a rock god. Nick Simper, underrated genius bass player. Roger Glover is not necessarily better, you guys. I'm sure Nick Simper could have played anything that Roger plays. Backing vocals, too. That's important. John Lord, of course, genius and a very mellow chap. He's egotistical, too, like Richie Blackmore. You know, whenever Richie solos, John has to solo, too. You know, these two British eccentric gents. It's weird. John Lord and Richie Blackmore seem to get along really good and complement each other. You would think that John Lord and Richie Blackmore would absolutely fucking hate each other. But I don't think they hate each other. I think they're buddies, or they're like, you and me are so good. The rest of the band is rubbish. But because of you and me, we're so good. You know, and Ian Pace is like, well, you know, I'm good on drums. Ian Pace, I would say he's right there with Bobby Caldwell, Carl Palmer, Keith Moon, you guys, Ainsley Dunbar, all the greats. Ian Pace, one of the greatest rock drummers in the world. He doesn't really play non-4/4 that often, but on this album, he kind of does, you guys. This album is weird for Ian Pace. These songs are very percussion, drumming, oriented or something. The drums and percussion are so involved, but so are the keyboards and the guitar and just everything. Progressive rock, hard rock, psychedelic rock, but no. Blues rock, it's just all involved here. They're deeply egotistical, and I almost get angry and sarcastic and arrogant and pissed off when I think about Deep Purple, because it's like I want to be Deep Purple. They are so amazing and incredible, you guys. One of my favorite bands. This album here, I almost like the way I like Captain Beyond with Rod Evans, the first album. This album's fucking killer. And I want you, young person, if you're only 16 years old, right here in 2024, March 2024, you know, you would be born, I think, in 2008. If you were born in 2008, that's 7 years after 9/11, September 11, 2001, when Mohammed Atta and those Al-Qaeda terrorists who were directed by Osama bin Laden, they bombed our two World Trade Center buildings, the Twin Towers, and you don't even remember it because you're only 16. You've only seen it on YouTube. You know, you've barely even glossed it, you guys. Your liberal teacher taught you wrong about it, and maybe so did your conservative professor. You know, they all say, you know, America's racist and that's why it happened, or maybe America's so great and that's why it happened, and you know, nothing's true and nothing's false. It's all sort of true and false. But it was our modern day Pearl Harbor 9/11. If you're only 16 right here in 2024, I want you to buy Deep Purple at Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, because you are important to me, Clark the Shark, and I want you to know about Deep Purple more than you need to know about Taylor Swift or any of that crap or modern music from now. You don't need to know about Blink 182 or Green Day or Modest Mouse or any of that shit, or, you know, Beyonce or any of that fucking shit. Don't even learn about Bon Jovi or that crap, or fuck it all, you guys. Learn about Ritchie Blackmore, John Lord, Nick Simper, Roger Glover and Nick Simper, you guys. Rod Evans and Ian Gillan. Of course, learn about Ian Pace, the amazing drummer, greatest drummer in the world, you guys. I don't know, you guys, it's close. He's right there on drums with like a guy like me, Clark the Shark. But he's better. He's better than me. I can't play snare rolls as tight and as fast as Bobby Caldwell or Ian Pace from Deep Purple. Little funny side note, Deep Purple, when they broke up, Ian Pace joined the Velvet Underground. I'm not kidding, you guys. You can Google that and look it up. Not the version with Lou Reed, the version with John Cale. I'm not kidding. And it's pretty killer, the album where Ian Pace is on it. It'll blow your mind, you guys. Minds, plural. Proverb, pronoun, I don't know. Go check that fucking shit out. But definitely do buy Deep Purple, the third album, 1969. Arguably the best of the three Deep Purple albums with Rod Evans. Of course, these guys would get fucking incredible with Ian Gillan, you know, In Rock, Machine Head, Fireball. Even who do we think we are? They're all good, you guys. I'm bummed out about what happened with Rod Evans and Nick Simper. The way they were just cast out of this band still leaves a bad taste in the proverbial sharky mouth. I don't like it, you guys. I hated what happened there. But had it not happened, we would not have had Captain Beyond with Rhino and Lee Dorman and all that, dude, and fucking Bobby Caldwell on drums. Like it or not, take it or leave it, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, you guys. It happened. And you could say the same thing, like, damn, it's so sad what happened to Clark the Shark and GE, the greenhouse effect. What the fuck ever happened to Clark the Shark? Well, I'm right here daily, you guys, talking about great albums like Deep Purple. Right here on the Clark the Shark Talk Radio Show. And I want you here every day because it's important, young people, for you to come here and learn about great music. I don't want to call it classic rock or psychedelic rock or Little Sharky's Underground Garage or genres or categories or subcategories or subgenres. I don't want to do that. I want you to listen to this album here for all these amazing songs. Chasing Shadows and April. Man, you gotta hear April. 12 minutes. It's so fucking amazing. I wish I could play these songs, but YouTube will probably ban and delete my talk radio account, you guys, and they will say, "Hey, Clark the Shark, you violated our TOS, our terms of service." Because you put links under your video, or some nonsense garbage that they just made up, like copyright infringement or some other bullshit, that the liberals at big tech, the big four, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you can throw Twitter into Elon Musk. He ain't no conservative, you guys. He bans and deletes accounts just as quick as Zuckerberg and YouTube and all the others right here on the Clark the Shark Show. But I will never ban and delete you, no matter what you think or say about Clark the Shark. In fact, I prefer you think and say bad things about me. Just so long as you also think and say things about Deep Purple, this third album that I want you to buy, and you tell them you heard it on the Clark the Shark Show, baby. And I'm out of here. Peace.